getting that rep as a young ho.
Like we always do.
Hell yeah. Get you, bro.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the podcast. Shout out to the legendary producer Fastlane for cooking up this intro for us, man, to get our blood flowing in the right direction. Today's episode is going to be about focus. What about focus? Some of us know about it, some of us don't know about it. Some of us it helps, and some of us it makes us feel negative. So let's break those down. One of the very fundamental things about focus that you have to understand is focus is like giving life. It's like a lifeline. And everything you give focus, you give it a lifeline. That means you make it alive. You make it matter. Things you don't focus on, you don't give it a lifeline. You don't make it alive. It doesn't matter. So, for example, you ever been walking down the street, in the mall, downtown, or in school or at work, and you lock eyes with stuff, randomly, just around your environment. Everything that you lock eyes with, you give it life. Even if it's for a split second, because there's so much around you that you don't give life, right? So that's kind of like the power that focus is. When they say manifest your desires, manifest your ambitions, and manifest what's inside of you to come to life, that means you focus on it. That's all that it means. If you focus on something every day, that means you manifest it. If you want to play the piano, and you focus on it, that means you're going to manifest it. So it sounds like this spiritual, universal concept that you have to be connected to the gods, but you just have to focus. And what happens when you focus? You start learning. And then when you don't find it here, you focus and you find somewhere else. You find keyboard players, piano players, what notes, chords, and you start to get involved. You're hyper focused. Then you learn how to play the piano. And then you play it so good that it looks like you're not even focused. You're looking sideways. You're looking up. You're looking at the lights, at the lamp, at the people walking in, and you're just playing piano just smoothly. You know why? Because you're focused on your piano still. You're just looking around because you have mastered the art of focus on your piano playing skills so good that now you can do something else. That's how life works. You see, you don't have to have this deep connection with God and the universe. All you have to know is focus brings life. All right? Wake up every morning, and what do you give life to? You pick up your phone, open up your social media, and you start giving life to social media. What is really social media? It's kind of like a pastime, right? You give it too much time. You become, so look at this closely. You give social media so much focus that you've manifested social media to be a part of your daily program because you're hyper focused on it. A lot of people say, well, I don't need it. I can do without it. There's no such thing as addiction. I don't know. I mean, that's far-fetched, right? That's up in the air. But what I do know is you're hyper-focused on it. Why you're hyper-focused on it, I don't know. So let's talk about that. You want to become a mechanic. You want to become a doctor. You want to become a musician. You want to become an artist. Perhaps you want to start your own podcast. But you spend all your time focused on social media, and you chase girls, and you go to the gym, and you go play ball with your friends, and you drink at night. I mean, you're not really suggesting that you want to start your own podcast, right? So that means you're not bringing it to life because you're not giving it focus. And that's okay. This is just a perspective here. But when somebody wants to do something, they focus on it. And guess what? They bring it to life. I'm an example of that. Social media has us thinking that you have to have a connection with God and the universe, and you have to lay on the ground to get grounded and all this stuff to get your superpowers and the chakras, and you got to carry crystals in your pocket. You just have to focus. You have to learn how to focus, but just as much as you have to learn how to focus, you have to learn how to not focus, because that's where we have a problem. Same thing with drug or alcohol consumption, or even friendships, anything that you focus on that you don't know how to not focus on. It's almost like you have to know how to turn it on and you have to know how to turn it off. All right? Because if you turn it on and leave it on, then you become obsessive, and then you almost become delusional, and you can get spiraled into a different space where now you wanted to become a podcaster, and now you've been hyper focused and obsessed about podcast equipment. Now you have 20 microphones, you have 6 computer monitors, you have 2 desks. I mean, you have enough podcasts to do a whole team, and you haven't even done one podcast because you forgot to turn off the focus. You've allowed yourself to go down the rabbit hole of focus, and you didn't know how to stop yourself. So that's the part you have to be responsible. That's the part you have to understand about yourself. It's okay to go on social media in the morning, check everybody out. There's people that I follow that I like, and I want to check it out. There's a couple of girls that I think are cute, so I check them out if they come down my timeline. And then I turn my phone to something else because I'm focused on something else. So there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit of what's not your goal, because you have to take a break from your goal or what you're focused on. See, a lot of people, they hyper focus on things and they don't know how to turn it off. Like when you like a girl and you focus on her, you start to spend time, you start to figure out, like, how could I get her number? How can I take her out? Then when you finally take her out, how can I get her to lay down? How can I spend a night with her? And then you lay down with her and spend the night with her. Then it's like, well, how can I spend another night with her? You start to hyper focus on her so much that next thing you know, you have a restraining order on you against you because you don't know how to turn off the focus. You're at her job, you're at her house, you're popping up at her window, you're in her car, like you forgot how to turn it off. And that's the part that you have to know. So understanding how to focus, understanding that it is important to focus, and understanding that it's okay to turn the focus onto many things and multiple things so that you can be well-rounded. You don't want to be stuck being one kind of person. You want to focus on many things, perhaps get into agriculture, learn how to do plants, learn how to play with dogs, learn how to do other things, talk to people of different ethnicities, backgrounds, and walks of life, and they'll give you a different outlook on life. That's out here for you. But you hyper focus on what you're hyper focusing on. All right. So let's break this down. You want to be a mechanic, but you're hyper focused on remote control cars. Well, you're never going to be a mechanic, and you don't have the desire to be. So you want to be a mechanic for a career choice, right? But you spend all your time on remote control cars. But you don't want your remote control cars as a career. It's just your hobby. So what happens is you hyper focus on the remote control cars, and you don't want that to be your career, but you don't focus on being a mechanic, and that's what you want to be as a career. So you have to learn how to put your eggs in the right basket, if that makes any sense. Okay? You want to be a mechanic, focus, learn, do what it takes to be a mechanic. Once you become a mechanic, or in the in-between time, you can turn off a little bit of the focus from a mechanic and go play with your RC cars, and then come back and then turn your RC cars off and then turn your mechanic back on. Focus is really just about self-control, and it's about knowing what kind of power it is. You have to understand that. A lot of people say, I can't focus. I have a problem focusing. Well, then what you're focused on is not that important. Because if it was important, you would be like hyper focused. Nothing can get you off of it. When I was learning this camera stuff, there was nothing anybody could do to get me off of here. I was stuck on here because I was determined to learn from how to do the settings in my camera to the lighting on a flash. Like I learned everything. And now I know how to turn it off and go on to something else. I still know how to do it, but I know how I need to learn how to do business, right? So a lot of other elements come about. My point is, you have to know where to focus, when to turn it off, and how many things you need to focus in order to get to your goal. Because it ain't just one thing. All right, guys. I hope that this helped you at least put a perspective on focusing. And I hope that you utilize it in your life. And I hope that it helps you in some kind of way. All right. Peace.